Volume's gone low as well, bro.
Okay, let's get started. Is my volume okay in regards to my mic? Hopefully. Okay, we're gonna get into it. Guys, these markets, we've got them decoded. We have got them decoded. Guys, having an amazing day this morning. All right, amazing day. Look, let's get into it. We can see this Dixie, okay? All right, so let's have a look at this Dixie. I'm going to try and make it as clean as possible. I mean, come on, what does this look like? What does this Dixie look like? Yeah. Let me try and help you. What does this Dixie look like? I'm going to put that box there, and I'm going to give this box a number. This box is going to be number 1. This box is going to be what? Number 2. What do we call number 2?
Manipulation.
Manipulation. Yeah, and then this next energy is going to be a box called number 3, which we like to call
distribution. Looks like it's distributing
nicely. Yeah, it made a nice bit of distribution. But have a look at this. Look at the strategy. Look how clear and clean. On multiple time frames. You can see here a big. It's that 15-minute manipulation W in here, boom, 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 boom. And the market indicating correcting, continuing. Let's drop our time frame down. You should be able to see a big old 5-minute manipulation W, yeah, sitting right in this circle. Okay, we see an indication, correction, continuation, manipulating out of our accumulation. All right. We even drop our time frame down further. Let's see how small we could have got on the entry. You can see it on a 3-minute time frame. Market pushing out with strength and speed, correcting and continuing after taking liquidity, after manipulating out of that area. Nowhere else have we seen the market do this. Let's go drop down to our 1-minute time frame and see if there was a 1-minute entry. Have a look. Have a look. Even made another little, on the retracement, made another little manipulation W. Yeah, this here at 3 o'clock New York time was easy trade to be able to see that energy there and then to be able to get involved in EU or GU for the sell. Yeah, here is EU. Yeah. And here is 3 o'clock. Can we see? Can we see? Yeah. There is 3 o'clock. Yeah. Beautiful manipulation M. Corrected. Continued. All right. And taking our cues off of Dixie, this would have been an easy position to get into, to at least execute on, and have a look how that market actually fell to hell. Yeah, within the New York session, we fell all the way down to here. You might have closed your position before the night's up. Still would have been a lovely trade. Okay, selling off. It was outside of the London window. Yes, we knew there was news yesterday. That was a driving factor. The markets didn't want to do anything until that news kicked in. Okay. But that could have been a very big trade. And the market has still kept running. All right. Now this morning, let's go look at our Dixie and see Wagwan. Okay. So if you see how this market from down here, out of this box, I know there's a few dotted lines, but I want your eyes to focus on Should I make them bigger lines? Make them a bit bigger. So I want you to be able to see everything quite clean. Okay, let's make these solid. Okay, we're gonna make this line over here solid. We're gonna make this line over here solid. And we're gonna make our distribution over here solid. Okay, you should be able to see that quite clean and easy. And right now we've woken up, and out of the Asian session, before London Open, we've seen the market continue to just push up straight out of that Asian session, reaching for the price, which was a daily high, okay, which was the high of our accumulation from before. Yeah, can you see this yellow box? And a previous daily high, the market reached for there and has obliterated that area. And now the question is that we are asking, what is the market going to do next? Yeah, the market has pushed up bullishly, taken liquidity from above. The question is, what is the market going to do next? On the 15-minute time frame, we can see some sort of, maybe this is going to make a big right shoulder. On a smaller 5-minute time frame, we can see how price is accumulating, bouncing around that price point, around 98.221. All right, you can see the market is accumulating over here. All right, and the question we're having is this market going to manipulate to the upside and start making some sort of retracement? Is this market going to manipulate to the downside and push up some more? Maybe it wants to go for this price, which is another daily high over here. Okay, we do not know. We are watching. We're going to read and react to what the market does. But we can see at the moment the market is clearly accumulating in this little yellow box. Nobody should be in a trade. Nobody should be turning around and saying they know what this market's going to go and do. They don't know as yet. All right. So we're looking here and there's a huge impulse. If I go and do this, and I even take off everything off my charts, you can see there's been a huge impulse from down here. Boom, breaking some structure. Okay, so if we go and we zoom all the way out now, remember, I am bullish on Dixie. However, the Dixie is trading within a range. Okay, the Dixie is trading within a range. The range that the Dixie is trading within is, have a look. Can you see that yellow box? Dixie's been in this yellow box. So though all of that action I'm saying, yeah, boom, boom, we do that, that's just in this red impulse. We're just focused on this little red impulse. I can even get rid of some of this stuff. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. We are in this red dotted impulse. Yes, it's active because I've zoomed out. So all of this stuff we can see in here. But that's where we are. So ultimately, this market could, if I go over here, look on the 15-minute time frame, could just be making a retracement into the top of that red trend range. Okay. If you can't see where we are, I know there's a few things going on. I can get rid of this stuff. You guys can, this was clean accumulation, manipulation, distribution. Can get rid of this. All right. But we can see that, maybe that market is just trying to get to the top of this pink range before deciding wants to keep coming down. Okay, so right now there's no foregone conclusion that just because that market is impulsed up here, that right now, as we happen to see our computer, that it's going to be coming in the opposite direction. There is no guarantee of that. Okay, there is no guarantee of that. The market might decide it wants to continue pushing. All right, that wants to continue pushing up towards this red line, up towards this imbalance that I've identified in here. I believe it's on the daily time frame. I can check. I should have marked it. Let's have a look. Yeah, can you see some imbalance? This was on the daily, so I can type in here just so daily. Yeah. Maybe the market wants to push up into there. Okay. Either way, we are going to read and react to what the market does. We're not going to be out here guessing. We're not going to be out here hitting the button just because, we just feel like our hands are itching us. We just have to hit the button. We are going to read and react what the market does. All right. So at the moment, what I'm saying to you is not my opinion, it's a fact. On this smaller time frame, this market is accumulating. It's going sideways. Yeah. We want to understand if that market wants to keep going or not. Now, ultimately, if this market decides to push up in here and we see an indication, correction, continuation, into one direction. That is essentially trading the breakout trading the breakout with the concern that the market might manipulate out and start to distribute lower. Now, there's a way in which, and it's a bit more of an advanced strategy, how you can cover yourself for both ends. Okay. Now, in a nutshell, without getting too detailed, is essentially you can trade an indication correction continuation as a continuation of the trend going towards a point of interest, but covering your position as quickly as possible in case the market is actually manipulating. Now, what this does, it means that you covered for not necessarily knowing what the market's going to go and do next. The market has taken a key level of liquidity here. Yeah, this level of liquidity this market took, if I go to my daily time frame, I hit refresh, we can see how this market has taken, just in this one candle, previous day high, 1, previous day 2, Monday, previous day high, Friday, taken all of this liquidity, nam. Yeah. So with that being said, with this one candle, which is just today, yeah, from early hours in the morning, the market might decide it wants to make a little breather, a little retracement, even before it continues pushing up or not. So we don't know. Or maybe the market wants to go for another candle high here and some imbalance. We don't know. Okay. We can't say we know. We don't know. But what we are doing is we are covering the bases. We are watching. Yeah. We are actually currently at the moment, closing up a little bit of weekly imbalance. Okay. So if we was to say the weekly imbalance was in between here and where that candle opened up, we're currently in this little yellow box where the market opened up all the way down here, and it's now pushing up, closing up some of this weekly imbalance. That's essentially what the market's doing at the moment. So we have to stay, sharp on what that market is trying to do. At the moment, it's just going sideways. Yeah, it's just going sideways at the moment. Oops, I think I was moving that by accident. Yeah, at the moment, it's just going sideways. Let me lock that. Now, look, we can see some concerns below also. Yeah, look at the concerns below. If we go to we look at this market, we can see imbalances below here. Yeah. We can see imbalances below, where maybe the market decides to manipulate out of here, only to keep pushing in this direction. This isn't impossible. So right now, because this market isn't accumulating close to a level of, see, I prefer this market to be accumulating, and right over here, there's a level of liquidity. Because then I'm waiting for the market to just do that, nam, and I'm definitely in for the sell. Yeah, but it's not doing that. It's taken liquidity already. It's accumulating above a point of interest. Okay, which might mean that the market wants to tap back in, sit on the previous battlefield of that previous daily high, yeah, which is that white line. Okay, and then market wants to continue in a direction, yeah, or it might just be making a much bigger manipulation pattern, maybe on a 15-minute time frame, maybe in a half hour, maybe in an hour. I can't really see it for any of those, yeah, but it might be making a bigger energy on the market wants to turn around. Yeah. At the moment, my gut is leaning towards something like this happening. Okay. But I'm not going to trade just, my hopes and dreams. I'm going to read and react to what the market does. So what we could do, or what you could do, you could simply slap some alerts either side of that accumulation. Yeah. One here and one here. And we can go about our business. All right. We can go and look at something else. All right. So if we go over here, obviously this is EU in reflection of that Dixie. What is it doing at the moment? Look, have a look. Similarly, we had this huge impulse that was from our manipulation that we said yesterday at 3 o'clock. We could have caught this whole move, huge move. But we are now sitting with EU on a previous battlefield. Okay. We're sitting over here on a previous battlefield. Doesn't mean the market wants to necessarily hit that and then go all the way up to space and break these highs. but it could decide it wants to make a retracement. Where to? Well, maybe up to 50%. Maybe from down here, the market went bang. Maybe it wants to come back up in here before continuing to get down into these levels and beyond. Yeah, and beyond. Yeah, this is very, very possible. So therefore, we have to read and react to what's going on. At the moment, like I said, even though we've taken liquidity from below Asian session, which happened early, it leaked out early, yeah, which is I always have a concern about that. The market might decide it wants to come and make a little retracement back up into these levels. Yeah, the market might trace back into these levels here, which is a previous battle for the Asian session. Okay, and then come and take those lows. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, but either way, I have to watch and see what it does and see where there's confirmations of, see if I'm getting what I look for. We saw how beautifully the market manipulated NDXY, giving us all the signs we need to see. You know, here, it's a bit more sketchy on, you know, on our euro. Okay, so a little bit more sketchy on our euro. Okay, on a 15-minute time frame, we could say we've got a manipulation W, and we're just about getting our continuation in the next 5 minutes. It's just not beautiful. It's not with strength and speed. So therefore, you know, I can't just take my cues from EU. Maybe I'll see what GU is also doing. Let's have a look and see what GU is also doing. GU is, you know, this is the level here. We can see that red dotted line, which is some liquidity from below New York PM session. We go to a daily, you know, hasn't taken, it will take some previous daily lows, but we're just sitting here in a previous daily bullish engulfing candlestick pattern. Yeah, sitting in here. All right. But if we drop our time frame pretty small to see what's going on in that 5 minute, you know, we're still looking for what we look for. Okay, we're still looking for what we look for. Maybe on a 5 minute time frame, it's trying to show us something. Isn't hugely compelling. 15 minute, we can't see anything. 3 minute, nothing. 1 minute, nothing. You know, nothing really is there. But we're watching it. Because if this starts going up, it means that our DXY has broken and it's starting to push down bearishly. Okay. Meaning then the market starts coming down here. And that might be just short term of, like I said, this market making some sort of retracement based upon the impulse. Yeah. So if I was to, let's get rid of this now. Let's pull out our fib from up here to down here. You know, maybe that market decides, yeah, it wants to make some sort of retracement back into that 50% level, that little area. Not impossible before that market continues doing that. That would be the DXY basically deciding it wants to come down. Where to? Let's look at where 50% of the DXY's impulse would be. And not because the market's going to just hit 50%, but it's because 50%, as we know, is a point of interest. Okay, so therefore, let me at least know where 50% of this impulse is. So 50% of this impulse, this is a little bit high, is about here. Okay. Yeah, let's just say 50% of the Asian session range. Yeah, around that 50% of the Asian session range is a point of interest where maybe this market decides to come back down in here before continuing to push up. All right. Hence the reason why right now I'm looking at the DXY as my major point of interest. And I'm sitting here and I'm wondering, what is it going to do next? And it's no point turning around and being like, yeah, you're just in the trade for in the trade's sake. You're trying to understand what this market may be doing next. Yeah. And at the moment, the market is doing ping pong. Yeah. Ping, pong, ping, pong, ping, pong. That's what the market's doing at the moment. How are you going to trade that? Unless you're going to say you're selling from the top, buying from the bottom. Well, you could do. If he was very quick, if you wanted to go and get in there for, you know, let's go to a DXY, for example. If you were saying that the market is accumulating, you wanted to get in there for 2-3 pips at a time. Yeah. Or a bit more than that, 10 pips at a time. But that's not what we do. Okay. We're waiting to see what the market does out of that accumulation so that we can catch the distribution. Yeah. Some people trade the manipulation. Some people who are breakout traders, they trade the manipulation. They trade the energy of the market manipulating out. As soon as they see it break and close, they trade it. Yeah, and sometimes when the market doesn't manipulate and keeps going, sometimes they take big trades. That's their strategy. Good for them. Some people trade the right-hand shoulder of the manipulation M. Yeah, that would be a break and retest, guys. Yeah, the market does this. Actually, they'll hit the button in here on the basis that the market's going to do that. Yeah, and they'll be able to catch that trade like that. That's fine. Good for them. Yeah, ultimately, there is one God. How you interact with that God, how you speak to it, how you understand him or her or it is unique to yourself. It's unique to your strategy. It's not my strategy is better than someone else's strategy. It's not, oh, he took this down here for a buy or for a sell and I was waiting for the buy. It's because he traded the shoulder that was selling down into the imbalance. And you was waiting for it to close that imbalance and then have a reaction and trade the distribution. It's all part of the same hymn book. Do you understand? So it's like, you know, sometimes you'll see somebody and they turn around and be like, oh yeah, I'm selling gold. And you're like, rah, JP's been talking about buying gold this whole time. Well, not because one person's wrong. Two things can be, can be the truth. Yeah, two things can be correct. Do you understand? If this market, I'm just letting you guys know, someone was telling me about something else. If this market does this, yeah, let's even make it even bigger than that. Yeah, if this market does this, understand there's somebody that could have traded this push because they saw a closure outside the range and that's their strategy. Somebody could have traded from here. The market broke, retested, they hit the button, and then they was able to benefit from this. If they know how to, if they've got, maybe they've got 1-to-1 targets, 1-to-2 targets, maybe they're taking this trade very, very small with a fixed stop. When they see some other confluence straight away, they're getting in with a 5-pip stop based upon this, and they're taking this trade here. Yeah? Somebody else trades this move as the market makes that right shoulder. Yeah? And maybe they've got some sort of way that they manage their trade. Somebody else understands that this market always likes to, touch back in to the middle of that manipulation W, and they trade this move. Yeah, that retracement. Somebody else understands the market accumulates, manipulates, and distributes, and they trade this. They are all part of the same hymn book. They're not a different tale. They're the same tale. They're the same story. And I want you to understand that. So when you're looking at different traders and they've got this strategy and that, they can call it what they want. They can add a little seasoning over here saying, yeah, guys, I'm waiting for this. As soon as we see this candle do this and blah, 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 we're going to do that. More times out of 10, it's the same story. Yes, there are other plays. There are continuation energies. There's some other, data and other information that you can learn about the markets. I'm not saying that you're stable and you know everything just by knowing, the Unity strategy. I'm saying that a lot of the time people dress up the same stuff for something else. They want to call it their God. They want to give it their name. They want to, put their stories in there, but it's all the same stuff. Yeah. It's all the same stuff. Okay. So once again, like I said to you, we are sitting here and we're wondering what's going on. Yeah, we are wondering what is going down. The market now is at the bottom of this range at the moment, and it's looking like maybe the market might be manipulating out here, maybe into here. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. But maybe that market is manipulating out into here. Now, if I'm looking on the bigger picture, if I go to like my 15-minute, we can see down a 15-minute time frame, maybe we are getting a bit of a manipulation M that just, or 5 minutes of time frame, a manipulation M that just formed there. Okay. Maybe. Yeah, maybe the market wants to come and tap back in here. Either way, if the market wants to come and tap back in here to this level on a smaller time frame, if I'm watching this, maybe I get an opportunity to take that the market manipulate and ride it up into this level. And if I'm wrong and the market doesn't stop there, well, my buy just keeps going. Yeah, my buy just keeps on going. Or better still, my sell, I say obviously the market just keeps on going. So I'm saying if this market is going to gain strength and keep going all the way up here to the moon, the Dixie, on a smaller time frame, it's going to keep pushing some more. Well, this here, GU and EU, might keep falling a little bit more. Yeah. If the Dixie doesn't, and it just keeps falling out of here, closing up all of this imbalance, we can see imbalance below. But if this starts falling, well, we understand that the GU and EU might start rising up. Yeah, might start making that retracement. So as I mentioned, let's have a look again. This GU, see what it's doing. We can see a 5-minute manipulation pattern here. This one, the reason why maybe this is giving a little bit cleaner information is we can see here the liquidity just being taken from this level here, and this wasn't giving us so much consolidation like the Dixie. We can just see now manipulation W forming on a 5-minute time frame, and that's the cleanest time frame I can see here. EU, let's go and try and see if we can grab an EU, see what I'll go on real quick from an EU. And see whether or not that's giving us any confirmations. So with our EU, we did get a little bit of fraffing about. We go to our 5-minute time frame. It's all a bit scribbly in there. All right, let's go to our 15-minute time frame where we can see a manipulation W, and we can see the market correcting and just about closing just here. So this is looking like our Dixie could be losing some strength, and it might continue falling all the way down into what we said, which could be our previous 50% level of that Asian session. Yeah, could do. Yeah, because like I said to you, this isn't necessarily just accumulating near to where there was a liquidity level. It's rampant. It was rampant in here. Remember, I said I prefer if it was accumulated just below a liquidity level and it just snatched it. But this push could continue pushing down here. But don't get twisted. Only to tap in and then come and take that level over here. So if we was trading GU at the moment on a 5-minute time frame, we haven't corrected and continued. If we was trading EU, on a 15-minute time frame, it's a bit scribbly, but when we go to our line chart, maybe there's a play here. Yeah. And like I said to you, what you could do is you could cover yourself and you could trade both of them. You could do. All right. You could cover yourself and you could trade both of them. Personally, I'd like to take my cues from the Dixie and keep my eye on the Dixie, what it's doing. I want to see the Dixie at least, if it breaks outside of this imbalance. So there's imbalance here, going all the way down to this level here. But if you look on our 3-minute time frame, there's more imbalance below. Maybe I should cover that a bit better. This energy in here is also a real point of interest. In my opinion, the market's got all of that area in here to decide if it wants to turn around. Okay. Now, I don't want to just rush into this because this on a 5-minute and this EU on a 15-minute, yeah, we're seeing a little push right now, but that push could come all the way up to this previous battlefield and then decide it wants to keep falling down. Yeah. That push is only to the previous battlefield, only like 10 pips. So to get in now would be me trying to say that I think that maybe this market's going to go and rise all the way up here and, do something, because obviously for me to get into a trade, it has to be worth my while. It has to be at least a 1 to 3. So for now, I'm going to be patient, even though we can see that market doing something. And I'm really more interested in seeing what's happening or in here. Okay. So we can see here that the market, even if we was to put some lines in, has been doing this. Yeah. Falling from this level over in here. Okay. And we can see that the market is actually just giving us no reason at the moment to say that we want to get in for the buy. Okay. Or think that this Dixie is going to start gaining strength. At the moment, the Dixie out of this little level here has been just making lower lows and lower highs and just broken its previous structure. Yeah, in here. Okay. Now, ultimately, we're watching to see, okay, is this market going on a smaller time frame going to have any type of reaction that says maybe we're having a change of character? Can see a bit of a, I was just about to say a bit of an ugly manipulation W, but it looks like it's violating right now. So we're just going to sit, we're going to read and react to what happens out of here. I don't have to rush. I don't have to run into it. Okay. What I can do is I can turn and be like, listen, I prefer to be a little bit late and have that confirmation than being early and just gambling. Okay. Because yes, we can see the market has on a larger time frame, which is 5 minute on Dixie, made a bit of a manipulation M in here. Well, if that's the case, then there's an opportunity surely to trade that market tapping back into that M. Yeah. Coming back up in here to that M, gaining strength. Yeah. So that means if it gains some strength, even if this is coming up and it gains some strength, this EU or this GU should start coming back in this direction. Yeah. So, the way I'm looking at it, like I said, I'm going to keep my eye on Dixie and think to myself that if we can see on a smaller time frame, maybe I trade that retracement into that bigger M. Yeah. Maybe from here, look, we can see it. And there it is. It was ugly. I thought it wasn't going to form it, but there it is. We see a manipulation W in here. We see the market correcting. So indicating correcting. And right now, in the next, what's the time? Why isn't it showing me the time? It's not showing me the time for some reason. In 44 seconds. Yeah, look, there you go. We've got a very ugly indication, correction, continuation. Now, I don't mind taking a jab here, saying this market's going to gain strength and this is going to lose strength, okay, into this. Now, I don't really want to get involved into this as a GU to say that, if this is going to push up in here and gain strength, don't really want to get involved here just to say that this market's going to push down in here. Not unless I see something on GU. And look at the EU. Similarly, we can see it potentially, it might lose some strength down into what I was saying that it formed over here, which was some ugly kind of situation in here. All right. I'm going to watch the Dixie. Yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on this Dixie at the moment. And it's made a very ugly manipulation W in here. Push back up into a previous battlefield. Okay, right here. My concern is this market going to keep manipulating all the way out of there? Yeah, or not? Now, I'm concerned because, like I said, this accumulation wasn't happening near a place of liquidity. It accumulated and it's tapped into a point of interest here. I want to know, is this market going to want to distribute higher in here, or is this market just want to break out to go and get to that 50% level? I'm not certain. Yeah, I'm not certain. Yes, on a very small time frame, if we're being reachy, I could say it made a little manipulation pattern in here, and it's looking like it wants to push out of here. Maybe if that's the case, it wants to keep push out of here, and we're saying it wants to keep getting very, very bullish. It means that GU and EU is going to keep selling off. Now, my concerns in regards to GU and EU, I think maybe it's easier put with EU, is where we can see the liquidity prizes are. Yes, we're having a reaction from a previous battlefield in here. We are having a reaction from a previous battlefield, but we know and we can see that there's liquidity down here. Down here, so okay, also. And if we go to our daily time frame, we'll be able to also find, if I hit the refresh, where the next points of interest are, meaning that red line that I put over here, just saying it was a liquidity level, is also a daily low. Okay, this is the concern. All right, that the market's ready to turn around, and we're just trying to work out whether or not now is the time. Whether or not now is the time. On a 5-minute time frame, you haven't necessarily got what we need to see here in Euro. Yeah. Or does this market want to make a retracement all the way back up into maybe 50% of the Asian session? Okay. The reason why I'm umming and ahhing is because they're not 10 out of 10s. Yeah, you see this here? This isn't a 10 out of 10 manipulation. This is at some small fraff. And to be fair, we saw the reaction in here. But, I'm concerned. I want to make sure, I want to be, confident that at the end of that market is doing something interesting. Yeah, I don't want to just dive in here because, like I said to you, I'm pretty concerned. I'm pretty concerned if that market decides it wants to come down lower, retrace deeper, make a bigger manipulation. All right, there's imbalance below, so I want to be sure. All right, I want to be sure, and the structure is not the cleanest. All right, so I'm rotating out. I'm gonna take a trade at some point. I'm gonna pull the trigger. I'm gonna go half risk. This is gaining strength. It's gaining strength. I don't like GU. I'm leaning towards. You see, the point is, even though that Dixie is looking like something, yeah, EU and GU is giving me other energy. Look, we've seen how the market accumulated, manipulated, and distributed out of this area. Okay. And we understand the market is now sitting on a previous battlefield that, in my opinion, could bring this market back up to here. Even if it wants to come down, could bring the market back up to here. Okay. For that to happen, the US dollar is going to have to lose some strength to get it back up into here. Alternatively, the market doesn't want to turn around now, and it's going to keep pushing down further. And that's what the concern is. I think that this market could push back up into here and then keep going down as the Dixie gains strength. But if that is the case right now, this minute, the Dixie should be losing strength. Yeah. And at the moment, this little push up in here, is it gaining strength? If it gains strength, then that means this EU should be coming down. So this is the little dilemma I'm having at the moment. Is this distribution complete? That's the question. Is this distribution from after it manipulating up into this level, is it complete? This is the manipulation. This is the distribution down in here. Is it complete? Is it done? Or is it got another little push in it, pushing towards, in this Euro instance, some of this liquidity levels down here and these daily lows down here. Let me see where the previous daily low was. I think I deleted it. Let me put it back. After the other daily low, there's one white line down there. Let's put another white line over. Let's put another one. Let's put another one. I'm doing that so I can see things past all of the noise, all of the scribbles that I've done on the screen, yeah? And I'll get rid of this Fibonacci for now, yeah? Is it done? All right, there's a trade to be had here. Don't get twisted. It's just trying to work out what that market really wants to do, okay? It's just trying to work out what that market really wants to do. My gut. Look, see? This is why we didn't rush and run into this. I weren't fully convinced. Yeah. This market coming down some more and breaking this level of structure and maybe deciding it wants to run on further could just be it making a manipulation of a 5-minute time frame out there. But I don't think so, because this accumulation was on quite a small time frame. I'm not expecting a big manipulation of 5-minute time frame, to be fair. 1 minute, 3 minute should have given us some more signals. I'm concerned now that this market is ready to lose some strength. If it's ready to lose some strength all the way down into this level in here, but the opportunity is taking that GU or that EU up into that 50% level in here for EU, GU up into potentially, in my opinion, that previous battlefield like this, okay? And I actually think that is what's going on right now. And I'm leaning towards, have a look, taking a jab. You can see on a 5-minute time frame, liquidity was taken, manipulation W formed, small correction, got about a minute and a half. You know, I'm leaning towards taking a jab, low risk jab, like so. How much is that? It's about 20 pips. Aggressively would be about 8 pips. Maybe I'll deal with it aggressively. I'm gonna wait for a minute to get a 5-minute closure. Okay. I'm waiting for a minute in a minute's time to get a 5-minute closure. And then I feel like I will take an aggressive jab into that level over there. Yeah, I am in another position, which is a different strategy, or different playbook, I'd say, that allowed me to enter that. And I'm just protecting myself whilst I teach. And I will tell you what it is. It is actually a little push in the US 30. But I'm willing to take this jab at the moment here. It's gonna be, let's just make it 10 pips. Yeah, in our GU. Remember, if you're taking any type of trade, you must have your calculator open. Okay, you must have your calculator open so that you understand what your lot size is. If you don't understand what your lot size is, then you're gambling. If you're just remembering what you took a lot size before and you're just hitting the button, you're gambling. Okay, and I don't think you should gamble. I think you should take good trades where you understand your risk at every point. And I'm going to take a little jab, very, very small risk. Yeah, nothing colossal at all. Based upon what's going on here. Let the market maybe continuing in this direction. Back up into 50% territory. Now my jab is so small that I literally don't care about it, because I'm having a small entry first. Then if the market continues to break structure, I will scale it. Yeah, not can, I will scale it because I'm so small. All right, because here, you know, the dilemma is still, does this market want to do this? Or is this market going to turn around and push down here? That concern is still there. Yeah, because of Dixie is just not clean. It's just, look at it, just still in the ramping stage. Yeah, still kind of ramping in here. Yeah, could just decide right here it's going to gain some strength and start doing something, because look, it hasn't violated here, even though GU said really I should still be taking my cues from here. That's why that jab is so small. Look, okay, it's pushing up in this level in here. Does it want to push up in here and then do something? I don't know. But on a 1-minute time frame, it's still not showing me nothing to get too excited about. On a 3-minute time frame, can't see. And on a 5-minute time frame, it's not what I look for. So I'm not rating it that much. I'm more say looking at it like maybe this market might just be tapping in. Have a look at the tap in. Remember, there's that 15-minute kind of manipulation energy that happened in here. Maybe that market is just tapping in. Yeah, maybe that market is just tapping in, and then it's going to lose some strength. Yeah, because we are kind of in the middle of the M. There's the wick over here. It looked like it was up. It looked like it was up here when we was doing the line chart, but the actual middle of that M is that wick here. So it's not impossible this market decides to come down here. It's also not impossible that this is a manipulation that I just can't see my entry in here. It's not clean. Yeah, and it continues to push up, continuing going for the prize over there. They are both possible. Hence the reason why my jab is in play. Yeah, However, if this market here, after making this retracement, closes again back above this level, which I'm going to pop on alert, it would give me a little bit more confidence that maybe that market wants to push. Because what am I banking on? What am I hoping for? I'm hoping that this market at this stage here, even though we've had this huge impulse, push, bearish, that maybe the market wants to make a retracement back into some previous battlefields. Yeah, maybe down here. Yeah. Or, back up into this 50% level. I'm banking at this, even if it wants to come down. Yeah. That is going to go up first. If for whatever reason the market's going to play extra silly buggers because of the news, well, even better. But I'm thinking to myself that the opportunity is this market at least getting up into this kind of energy at the moment. Yeah. Now, if that is the case and this market starts pushing here, we haven't violated swing low. Yeah. And remember, when I was looking at this picture, look at where we are in this picture. Let me get rid of this. We're kind of in the middle of the range, yeah, of that little impulse. So that market could decide it wants to drop here to get to the top of the range to a premium. It's very, very possible. So hence the reason why I'm being so cautious. I'm being quite small. Yeah, I'm managing my risk in this way. Yeah, I don't need to go in there and get all extra saucy with my risk. It's unnecessary. Yeah, I can just turn around and I can trade what I see very small, take my small wins. Yeah, as I know that the market is volatile and there's things going on because it's Christmas time season. Also today, guys, just so you know, there is red folder news coming out today. Oh, sorry. Well, there was red folder news that's already happened today, and we can see that there is GU and EU news coming out. CPI at 10 in euro. Okay, that may really dictate some things happening in EU and GU. Okay, so yeah, so I'm staying cautious for that reason. Yeah, US dollar, we've got some speeches happening, medium folder news. But yeah, it's not, it's not a 10 out of 10 setup because I didn't like the manner in which this, what's going on here in the Dixie. And as you can see here, it looks like we're melting down. So, if we are melting down in here, losing strength in here, then our GU, as mentioned, could be buying up quite nicely, yeah, into this level. And like I said, I will wait here, yeah. Aggressive entry is fine. The moment this market, is it going to close up above this level is the question, and keep pushing. Is it going to close up above? I think I've got an alert there already. I should have, and keep pushing. That's the question. Or maybe the market wants to make a bigger retracement, maybe 50% of this little impulse, and therefore your safer stop, which is below here, would just keep you in the game. But at the moment, we are literally watching to see what this market's going to go and do. If you're already in, based upon that closure, fine. We're watching to see if that market's going to continue. I am in very small jab, very safe positioning, yeah. And I am wondering what this market is going to do, yeah. Yeah, let's look at something else real quick. Let's go and look at gold. I've got my alerts in here, so this should ring-a-ling if anything's happening. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll put my alert on my MT5 over here. That market's going to go and start pushing down in here. And I'm waiting for my alerts to start ringing because I would like to add some size if that market's that do start giving me some confirmations. Let's go and look at gold, XAU USD, and see where I'm going. Okay, so in regards to gold, have a look. Asian session. Gold leaked out early in Frankfurt. And when London started, London went and said, you know what, let's quickly take the liquidity from below here, as we're down here anyway. And then in my opinion, it's very possible this market decides to go and violate these highs again. All right. Now let's go and have a look at the 5-minute time frame and see what we can see. Can't see any clean reason for us to get in. Can see a bit of a manipulation W over here, the wick coming all the way down here. Let's look at the 1-minute time frame. The wick didn't give us that much in here to say it's clean. You can see how the market is breaking outside of this trend as it came down in here. You know, my gut is that this market wants to at least get above here. All right, that's what my gut is saying to me. If we're looking here on the daily time frame and we understand where previous prices are, well, we can see a previous daily high in here. You can see a previous daily high in here. There's prices below, above here. Okay. So zoom back in and see what's going down. So we can see that the market actually, you know, Frankfurt took that previous daily high. Saying something else to me now. That liquidity has been taken. This liquidity here has been taken. This just might be a reaction as this market wants to come down bearish some more. Yeah, so we might just see this market trying to do this as it's going to decide to maybe make its journey towards some bigger prizes. Yeah, not impossible. Let's look at it on the bigger picture and see what we think about this. Well, on the bigger picture, we understand that the all-time highs was over here and there is liquidity sitting above this level. But prior to that market doing that, the market is allowed to make retracements. Yeah. That market is allowed to retrace back down towards the bottom of that range. We can put a few little lines in here. It's not clean. All right. So that market is allowed to decide to make a little retracement in here before pushing up. That little retracement would mean possibly is this market now, after taking liquidity from above, I'm going to delete some of these Fibonacci's. Okay. Delete some of this. Is this market now, taking some liquidity from above Asian session, above this daily high, and it wants to now make a retracement back into this level, maybe back down here. If we're looking at ping pong within this range, have a look at the ping pong. You ready? Ping, pong, ping. Does the market want to pong down here? Does the market want to pong down here and make a higher low? Okay, we made a higher high. Does the market want to make a higher low in gold? Okay, this is a questione that we're asking. Yeah, so this liquidity that's been taken over here, this market took this liquidity here early, came all the way down here to hit a checkpoint of taking this liquidity. Is that because that London is ultimately bearish? Look, here's when London from here ultimately said, no, let's keep going down. We're bearish today, we want to sell. And now we're just, because this liquidity is taken, we're just getting a bit of a retracement first that might come into these levels only to continue coming down here. This is definitely a concern of mine. This market might want to just do this and keep pushing down bearishly. On a smaller time frame, I can't see no clean manipulation push off this liquidity, strength and speed that it just wants to keep going up. Okay. So I've kind of got the vibe that maybe gold wants to make a little bit of a retracement first. We can see some levels, some prizes down in here. Okay. And beyond. And I'd be watching what the market is doing literally at this level in here of this 50% of this impulse, whether there's going to be some change of character happening in here. I'm a bit concerned that we are kind of dilly-dallying in here, because at the same time as me saying that, is the market could be, on a bigger picture, have a look, consolidating in here. Yeah. The market could just be in this little area, deciding it wants to go backwards and forwards. Yeah, because of the time of the year, etc. Look, boom, pong, ping, little bit of a pong, ping. Yeah. Either way, the question is it finished ponging up here? Or does the market want to come down first? before doing that. All right. So, like I said, in a smaller time frame, watch we're watching, this market's coming up into that point of interest. I said of, kind of 50% of this impulse. It'd be interesting to see what it does here. Have a look at our GU, still thinking about it. Our EU is the same, and our GU still thinking about it, breaking above this level. I'm already in for an aggressive entry, waiting for a confirmation for me to scale in on GU, not so much EU. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So we're here and we're looking at this and we're wondering, EU and GU similarly, waiting to see whether that market is going to close up above here and keep pushing up towards this area. Yeah, same with the EU, pushing up probably towards, I'm going to say, this area in EU. Yeah, and Dixie pushing down, possibly closing up some of this imbalance. So pushing down into maybe this area and beyond, all the way down here if it really goes crazy. All right. If not, and the market's now deciding it wants to make some manipulation pattern, I can't see on the 5-minute time frame. And on a 3-minute, maybe deciding to make some little 3-minute manipulation W right now. Maybe. Trade carefully. That's what I'd say at the moment. Things are not obvious. Yeah. I'm happy with getting in my local trades. I'm pulling out a little couple hundred here, couple hundred there. I'm happy about that. I'm happy about trading cautiously. My first entry in here very aggressively that I'm still in for. Yeah. There, and now we're getting a push above here. I can turn and I go, okay, this is looking a bit more interesting. The retracement's been made. If I want to add some more sides. Okay, I'm waiting. There's still a minute. That candle hasn't closed above this level yet on my MT5. Okay, it hasn't closed above there yet. I can wait. I can see whether that's going to happen. If it does, then I can start to add size incrementally, all right, without going crazy. That's how you can trade safe. And every single time you can trade safe. The reason why we don't do it is because of greed. Yeah, because we think, wow, if we're in here for £1, we might as well be in there for £100. Just imagine, I made £3. Imagine it was £100. So our brain starts saying to us, well, yeah, you're right. But at the same time, that's the fastest way you can blow your account. All right. If you're on the side of patience and you're calm with it, you will never blow an account. Yeah. I'm telling you, if you're on the side of patience and you trade small, you're not trying to win the lottery straight off the bat, you should never really blow an account, especially if you understand the strategy. But I know that what happens is not that. Remember, the easy test I can do, for anybody who's going to turn around to me and say, Jay, I've been trading really strong. I've been, my risk management's on point. I'm ready to take the next step. I'll say to you, no problem. Export me your history for the last month of your trading. And what I should see is no losses larger than your maximum risk. Yeah. So if you're trading a £1,000 account, I should see no losses larger than £10. If you're trading a £10,000 account, I should see no losses larger than £100. If I see £110, £120, £200, £230, you lost, boom, 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 boom. Well, you ain't quite got a grip yet. If you can show me that your win ratio, especially if you understand how to hold your trades and let your trades ride towards points of interest, should outstrip any small losses that you can take. Yeah. There's no way you're going to take 10 trades understanding this strategy and not be able to catch, and you're only risking 1%, then you're going to catch a 1 to 5 or 1 to 7 or 1 to 10. You will do. Yeah. Especially if you know how to hold onto your trades. Yeah. So therefore your win ratio could be, you lose 90% of your trades. And on that 10th trade, you get a 1 to 10 and back up at 1. Yeah. Have a look. We've been waiting for this. I've been saying I've been waiting. There's another 1 minute. There's a closure. Let's just close the bluff. And now I'm willing to add a little bit more size. You can see an immediate reaction to it. I love to see immediate reaction. Gets me even more excited when I see that immediate reaction. As soon as that market clears back above, as soon as this clears back above in here, I'm willing to add some size. Okay. As soon as this candle clears back above in here, even though yes, it's closed, it's on such a small time frame and it's 9:08, I'll just wait a little piece. Okay. Yeah, if I hit the button, I'll get ever so slightly better entry. Yeah, if I'm saying that I want to take this trade and add some size, maybe placing my stop below here, yeah, I could get a slightly better entry now. But if I waited, bearing in mind I'm looking at the time being 9:08, meaning it's only going to be a 1 minute or 2 minute closure, yeah, then I can just wait. Because in another minute, it's going to be a 10-minute closure, which is going to be a 10-minute closure and a 5-minute closure and a 1-minute closure and a 2-minute closure. Yeah. These are little things, like little nuances you can start using in your trading as you get a little bit more settled, a little bit more calm in your interactions. Yeah. Because right now, this market, if it wants to, could come all the way back down here, be very stubborn, and then close back above here on a 5-minute time. Have a look at the 5-minute candle. See, 5-minute candle hasn't closed above that level in here. So if we're looking at that trade, let's just say this market's made a 5-minute manipulation. It's coming down here. The actual candle hasn't closed yet. It's got 17 seconds before it closes. We're watching it. It's got 12 seconds before it closes. We're watching it. It's looking like it doesn't want to give me the closure. Like it wants to play with, it wants to ramp. Still doesn't give me the closure. So, now once again, maybe the market's going to do it in the next 5 minutes. I'll be patient. Yeah, patient. I'm cool.
Bro.
Yo.
Yeah, I'm waiting for Dixie to close above this level here. If you go on Dixie, what are you on?
This is the Dixie now. If the Dixie,
on the 5-minute candle.
Dixie is now looking like it wants to make a manipulation. I'm gonna delete some of this stuff. It's hard to see. Let me get rid of this. Let me get rid of this little circle.
5-minute, bro. And the candle thing. See, I'm waiting for this bit here. Where is it? Where's my line? Oh, there you are, drawing. It closes below this thing here.
Yeah.
After manipulation, I'm in on GU.
Yeah, I get it. And I think that's the safest thing to do, to be perfectly honest. Because like I said to you, at the moment, this is still all frapping and ramping and and hence the reason why I said I was so small and I was saying I'm looking to add some size if this gives me what it needs to, which at the moment, we're just taking a little bit of a push down, but still not violated the lows over in here. So we're just watching this and seeing what going. And I agree with you. You looking at the Dixie and saying, yeah, if that market comes down here, then maybe it's doing something else. At the same time, like I said, it's not clean because look at that trend line here. We're sitting in a discount of this trend, and that market could decide it wants to push up in here and grab this liquidity first. Don't get twisted. This market could do this. Grab this liquidity first above the accumulation. This is very possible. Yeah, it's not impossible. If we zoom all the way out, again, the market could decide it wants to push all the way up here towards this price and the top of this trend line. So that's why I'm saying to you at the moment, it's not clean and clear. It is jab territory. And if the market confirms what you can see happening, then you can try to add some size. That's how you stay. That's how you stay without taking else. Yeah. If you want to just, dive in and why is Jay so indecisive and why can't we just, well, that's fine, dive in. But you have to understand if the waters are shallow or the waters are extremely deep, however way you want to look at it, I can't just dive in head first. I'm going to smash myself to pieces if I dive into shallow waters head first. But if the water's extremely deep, I might just, I might do a madness. I might drown myself. Yeah, it might be too much for me to handle. Yeah, so like I said to you, taking a little jab, managing your risk, like, is easy to do. Remember what we were saying when I was looking at this Dixie? I was saying there's a possibility this Dixie might just be coming and tapping in to a point of interest. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe it's just coming, but we did get a little wick already. But maybe that market's not finished, just tapping into a little point of interest here. I can't see. It's very, like I said, it's messy. You can see this little area here, you know, some kind of imbalance on that right leg. Yeah. Some sort of imbalances in that right leg. And it's possible the market wants to come and tap into here before coming down. Not impossible. Yeah. If it does come into this area over here, I'm on a smaller time frame. You know, we can look for some signals of that market maybe deciding it wants to turn around. And if it completely violates that area and keeps pushing up, well, then we will know by then anyway that our GU will be coming down. And remember, ultimately, I want to be in GU for the sell. Yeah, ultimately, I do want to be in GU for the sell. I'm just saying that we have to trade what we see. And at the moment, you know, this market, even if it wants to come down, it could push up into these points of interest. There was some previous battlefields sitting around here, as well as, you know, some 50% levels in here. So ultimately, this market's got lots of momentum, yeah, because of US dollar strength that made it fall down here. But if that US dollar wants to take a little break from that strength, look, we are pushing up into that level, but you see this little push into here, don't get twisted. This doesn't mean that our GU is tumbling them. This is just small energy. This energy isn't directly reflecting into our GU and our EU. So, you know, the same way this has come down here, this market could decide it wants to just tap in and keep coming down here. Yeah. Or if we violate these highs, fair enough. It's doing something else. Yeah, which is fine. But for the fact that this market came down in here, yes, we was accumulating, but it didn't really, it just closed an imbalance on the rate. It's like 60-40, guys. It's not great, 60-40. Yeah, it's one of them kind of analysis at the moment, 60-40. Whereas yesterday, when we saw this beautiful stuff happen, was easy. You know, when we was looking at how the Dixie was moving in here, have a look. I'm going to wipe my charts real quick. This here was easy. Yeah, this level in here, which is the market accumulating, this manipulation in here at 3 o'clock yesterday was easy. Was something I'll be like, yep, in there, it's showing me on multiple time frames, big manipulation W's with strength and speed. Yeah, have a look if I go to my line chart. You know, boom, strength and speed in that leg. Correction continue. That's a 5 minute. There it is on a 15 minute. There it is on a 3 minute. And even on a 1 minute time frame, there it is. That is easy. That would have been me turning around and saying, yeah, boom, I'm selling. And then when we looked on it and the reflection, look at the time, 3 o'clock, go to GU, and we see the reflection yesterday at 3 o'clock. Over here. Yeah, at the top of that little mountain top here. Look, 3 o'clock. Would have been easy us being able to see. Have a look. If I go here, beautiful manipulation after taking this liquidity above here. Yeah, on a 5 minute time frame, we can see one. 15 minute, we can see one of the market tapping in and continuing. A 1 minute time frame, if you was really on job. In New York here. Well, we can see this little level in here. Maybe EU looked better on a small 1 minute time frame. Either way, that dollar would be the overriding factor that when I see it happen here in New York session, then I'll be like, yeah, boom. and you could have gotten in here on a smaller time frame, or you could have been gotten in here as the market came and tapped back in to our manipulation. In fact, there's a smaller one there. There's a smaller one there on a 1 minute time frame that would have coincided with what we can see in the Dixie, which didn't have this little bit of fraff over here, and the market tapping in and continuing. And if your stop was in the right place, even aggressively, let me see if it was aggressive. Now, aggressively, you wouldn't have stayed in to do this retracement here, but you would have got this part of the move. If your stop was above these highs, which would have made sense, you would have been laughing your head off as that market continued to push into the PM session. And if that was a position that was held overnight, then that market went to hell. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Gold Rolly. Like I said, I'm concerned about what it's going to do around here. Is this market going to have a reaction? You know, if that reaction comes in, is that reaction going to be driven by US dollar gaining strength? If US dollar gains strength, then ultimately, you know, our GU is coming down. So there's a conflict there. Now, it's not completely clean and obvious because, you know, gold is its own entity. Gold isn't always, and we can check that. Look, if we go here and we put the superimpose the Dixie on top of gold, gold isn't necessarily just, you know, US dollar isn't just ruling gold. Because if that was the case, whenever US dollar was gaining strength, you know, gold would be falling to hell. Okay, so the correlation isn't that tight. Yeah. So, you know, both of those can be true, that this gold starts coming down and that US dollar actually starts coming down as well. You know, we've seen it happen in the past. Okay. So yeah, the correlation isn't that tight at the moment in regards to that, and because gold is its own entity, it's its own safe haven, regardless of the indexed derivative version on Forex of XAU USD. Gold is in itself a commodity that has its own ecosystem. Yeah. So, you know, looking here to see whether or not in and around this area we get a significant, you know, change of character. We have, you know, come up here somewhat. Maybe we aren't finished, but unless I see some, you know, proper character changing below some key structure, then I'll just be waiting to see what I've got. Yeah, 50% of the impulse is over here. 50% of the Asian session is here, but I think is slightly below it here. But, you know, I prefer that 50% of that impulse is a better range. But 50% of the Asian session is here. But I prefer this little level in here. Either way, I'm going to read and react to what the market does. I'm going to pop an alert over here just to let me know if the market gets up in there. And I'm going to pop a little alert down just below that bit of minor structure on gold. There's a little bit of minor structure in there, nothing major, minor. What do I mean by that? I mean, it's not a swing. It's not a swing low structure or point of interest. It's like minor structure. It's the little bits in between the major mountains and major valleys. Okay, have a look at our GU, still dancing around, still thinking about it. Maybe we should go up, maybe we shouldn't, maybe we're just ramping a little piece. Have a look. You know, maybe we're not too sure. Still here. Had a little push down here that didn't violate these lows. So everything's still on the cards, but we've just been ramping a little bit. And this is why we're going in small. This is why we're going in small. All right. Guys, have an amazing day. Have an amazing day. I'd say take time today. Yeah, take time today until you see something that is obvious, and pop your ideas either in the group if you were looking to take any trades. Yeah. Or pop them in the Discord or whatever it may be. Yeah. But guys, have an amazing day. I'm going to put something on, and I'm going to wish you guys have an absolutely great day. This morning I was playing something that was quite powerful, guys. I shared it. In fact, let me stop the live I might just remove that live. There wasn't too much activity happening in that live session. But let me just stop it regardless.